everyone. I'm Ryan from Fireside Knicks with my friend and co-host Dylan Backer. And in today's episode, we're talking about whether Jalen Brunson can reach new heights in the 2024 season. Now, obviously, last year he was phenomenal for the Knicks, and he took a big leap from being really a secondary option and a guy who wasn't a primary ball handler, an assistant that had Luka in Dallas, and we know he's a very ball-dominant player. Not criticizing him for that. It's just how he plays. But Brunson finally got an opportunity to be the primary ball handler, to be the guy in New York and on a team, and he excelled. And it wasn't just in the regular season, Dylan. It was in the postseason as well. We saw him elevate his game once again in the playoffs and really be the guy for the Knicks. And while they did fall short, they did lose to Miami in the semi-conference finals, and that was a series you hope you could win. I thought I was very impressed with Jalen Brunson, and I think there's a lot of things to like from that season. I think there are areas of improvement that we could see in 2024, and this is a guy who was in his age 26 season last year. Like, we've seen 26-year-olds get better at age 27. So, Dylan, I'm curious, and I'm interested to see what you have to say about this, and how are you doing today, my friend? And go ahead.
Yeah, so, when I think of Jalen Brunson, I think of a guy who's been ascending every step of the way in his career. Even when he was with Dallas, every single season, each season that would go by, he'd up his points per game average, he'd up his assist averages, he'd up his rebound averages, his efficiency, all that good stuff was always going up. It was always trending upwards. So when he signed with the Knicks, I knew it was going to continue because, like as you mentioned, he had a much larger role coming into the Knicks. He knew he was going to be the main point guard of this team. He had a more defined role than he did with Dallas. Because when he was with Dallas, there were times that he'd come off the bench. There were times he'd start at the shooting guard. I don't think Dallas really knew entirely what to do with Brunson because, he was very talented, but at the same time, they had Luka Doncic, like you mentioned. Luka Doncic was obviously the guy, and they were trying to figure out who fits best with Luka's play style and all that stuff. So when he came to the Knicks, like I said, they knew he was going to be the main point guard. And even in the regular season, his game continued to elevate as the season went on. He started off the season, not slow. I don't want to use the word slow because he didn't start off the season slow by any means, but he, just started off the season pretty good, very good. It wasn't like amazing, but it was pretty good. It was something refreshing. It was nice to see to have a good point guard for once in a while. But then once January rolled around, he took a monumental leap. In the month of December, he averaged 18 points, which is very good. Don't get me wrong. That's very good. It's still more than what it was still, higher than what he had been scoring previously with Dallas and stuff like that. But in the month of January onward, he averaged at least 26 points each month the rest of the season. And in January specifically, he averaged 28.7 points, 5.4 assists, 4.1 rebounds, shot 48% from the floor and 44% from three. I mean, that's just phenomenal. I mean, you can't make that up. That is just phenomenal, downright. That's right there is like one of the best scoring lines anybody could really put up. Not even just for point guards, anybody. And overall, just like the way Brunson is with his efficiency, his play style for a small guard, he really can elevate himself not into just like one of the better scoring point guards, but one of the better scorers overall in the entire NBA. I really think he can reach that level next season. You know what I mean? And even right now, he's playing with Team USA, and he's still elevating his game. I mean, the other day, he scored 22 points and that went 9 of 9 from the floor. The guy didn't miss. He's just a pure scorer from whether it's three-pointing, mid-range, fadeaways from the mid-range, those floaters. He finds his way each way. Somehow, he gets to the basket. He finds a way to score. He does it at such an efficient level, such an incredible, he plays with such a play style that it's really refreshing to watch. And I think it's really fun to watch from a small guard as well, because you don't see many small guards kind of have such a well-rounded game in terms of scoring like that. Usually you see smaller guards like to shoot the three a lot more. No, Brunson, on the other hand, he shoots the three a lot, yes, but he also loves to get inside. He gets to that mid-range, those fadeaways, like I mentioned. He does all those things that other guards don't necessarily do, and it makes him just a downright pure scorer. And that's what I really like about his game. And I really think, just based on the way his career has been trending, like I mentioned before, you can definitely expect him to be even better in 2024. I think I can expect at least an all-star appearance. I would be shocked if he doesn't make the all-star team. I thought he should have made the all-star team this past season, but I understand there are some other point guards in the NBA that were having really good seasons, so I'm not trying to knock on them. I do think Brunson did get snubbed, but still, regardless. Next season, though, I think Brunson should definitely end up being an all-star. I anticipate that. Of course, given if he stays healthy, of course, but I anticipate he will. So with that being said, I mean, I really am looking forward to him next season. I think he's going to be even better. I don't think we've seen the best of Jalen Brunson yet. Some people might say, oh, he's 26, he might have peaked by now. No, I don't think he's peaked at all. I think I think the sky is the limit for Jalen Brunson, honestly. I think he can really take his game to another level. I really think he can become a downright just one of the best scorers in the NBA, really. And I'm not trying to overrate the guy, but if you watch Knicks games like as much as we do, you will see just how good of a scorer the guy really is. Even if the stats won't always tell you it, even if he doesn't have a 40-point game, just watch him play. Watch how good he is and watch just how he finds his way to score. He finds his way, like I said, every which way. He's a pure 3-level scorer. And I mean that. Like, he literally can find a way to score at any spot of the court. There is no spot in the court that Brunson can't score from. That's really how good he is. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to next season. I think adding DiVincenzo and keep bringing back Josh Hart will make things even better for Brunson because he's already played with those two guys before in Villanova. So I think he's just going to get even better. And now that he has a full season under his belt with the New York Knicks, he knows what this system is like. He knows Tom Thibodeau's coaching style and all that stuff. I think he's going to be even better. I think he's really settled in now. And as you mentioned before with the playoffs and stuff, he rises his game in the playoffs, and that's exactly what the Knicks needed. He averaged close to 30 points in the playoffs, if I remember correctly. So really looking forward to what he does. But I want to pass it off to you and kind of let you lay out your thoughts on this because I know I've been talking a bit. So go for it, Ryan.
No, I think you're right. You mentioned, number one, 3-level score, right? This guy can score in so many different ways. And he said 9 for 9, 22 points. That's something that Jalen Brunson excels in. That's being efficient and being able to get points without taking up a lot of the shot diet. It allowed Julius Randle and RJ Barrett to get a lot of shots. And while, Barrett didn't necessarily take the biggest advantage of it, and Randle does struggle with consistency, the fact that those shots are still open with a guy like Brunson, who's averaging well over 20 points a game, tells you how well he meshes with other star players. We saw how well he meshed with Luka and how that team was very good with him. And look at what they were without him. Western Conference Finals appearance. I know they got stomped by Golden State, but still they got there and they beat the Suns in the process. And then this year, they can't even get into the play-in. So I think Jalen Brunson's a much more valuable player than people give him credit for. I think you're right. If you feel like the public perception if you take the public perception of Jalen Brunson and you kind of overrate it a little bit or overrate it relative to the fan perception, I think you're ending up with a more accurate description of what Brunson is. I think he's better than what the league average fan thinks he is, and I think he's a lot better of a player than people give him credit for. I understand that as Knicks fans, we're homers, right? And we see him play every day, and I'm not watching every Bucks game. I'm not watching every Suns game. I'm not watching every Kings game, but I do know what I see with Jalen Brunson, and the data backs it up. So, I think the big thing here for me with Jalen Brunson is, can he continue to be this efficient scorer? I think so, right? Can he continue to space the floor? I absolutely think so. I think last year, in terms of 3-point percentage, he took a pretty decent leap, considering his volume was up. He shot his highest percentage of his career on the most attempts of his career by a significant margin. He went from 3.2 last year, which was his previous career best, to 4.7 this year. The percentage goes up from 37.3% to 41.6%. There was some concern that he wasn't going to be able to manage a great 3-point efficiency on increased attempts because he went from 2.9 to 3.2 and saw his percentage points drop by nearly 30%. But he's such an efficient scorer. His free throw shooting, even this year, second best of his career, a little bit down from last year, but still better than his career marks. In terms of his ability to get to the basket, that's something that, did come down this year, but his attempts were way up. So again, all of the efficiency stuff is really good, giving you 24 points a game. And he's doing this as an undersized guard. Undersized guards typically struggle with efficiency. I'm comparing Jalen Brunson's efficiency to just the league average NBA player and not the average point guard or the average guy his height. And for him to do what he's done has been mildly impressive. And what he does for an offense is super important, right? Having an efficient scorer, having a guy who can, space the floor, score in a million different ways, get to the free throw line, do a million different things. Really, the only thing he struggles with is defense. That's really the one big knock on his game. And, even in that regard, he still goes out there and gives it his best effort. We see him take charges all the time. So, I think he really is a leader for this team. And I kind of wanted to throw this bone out there and see what you thought. I think that if Jalen Brunson gets a real, a real star player that you can you pair with him and you consider that championship caliber, that we would see the best version of Jalen Brunson. I'm not saying that the points per game are going to go up dramatically. I'm not saying the assists are going to go up dramatically, but I think the overall player value would go up dramatically, because now instead of having to always be the guy or mostly be the guy in the fourth quarter, he can alternate. I said assists wouldn't go up. They probably would. I don't know why I made that comment. But all things considered, I think Jalen Brunson gets a little bit better next year. But if the Knicks find the guy, and I don't know if it's going to happen this offseason or midseason or next offseason, I think pairing that with Jalen Brunson, man, the fit would be great. And I think we both know the guy I'm thinking of here. It's Joel Embiid, right? Like I mean, come on. Brunson just pairs well with any star. So I guess, Dylan, I kind of wanted to ask you here, Jalen Brunson he's taken that step forward, and he's a guy who gels with stars. What type of star are you looking for to gel with a Jalen Brunson? Like what is your ideal, I guess, archetype? Doesn't have to even be a specific player.
Right. So, like, I definitely agree with what you said about, if you give Jalen Brunson like another star player or like an MVP level talent, or even like not even MVP level, just like, all NBA level talent. I'm not discrediting Julius Randle. I think he pairs very well with Julius Randle, actually. They both averaged over 24 points. We saw the best of Julius Randle with Jalen Brunson this season, and we saw the best of Jalen Brunson with Julius Randle. So I do think they mesh well together. But if you added Joel Embiid to this team, oh man, him and that, like Brunson and Embiid, that pick and roll combination would be scary. And it's kind of, it says something because Embiid is currently playing with James Harden. And, you know, even with that, you're adding, yes, Jalen Brunson is smaller than James Harden. I'm not saying Jalen Brunson can become James Harden, because James Harden's one of the best scorers of our generation. But, if you have Jalen Brunson, who's currently in his prime or about to be in his prime even, and you pair him with the guy who is a perennial MVP candidate, that's going to be scary for opposing teams, man. And with the way Jalen Brunson's game is continuing to evolve, and as he is as a 3-level scorer, I don't know how you're going to stop that. I'm just going to be honest. I don't know how you stop that duo. Like, I'm being completely honest. There's not that many teams that I can think of off the top of my head that have a realistic shot at stopping that. I really don't. That's going to be so tough to guard. Imagine trying to guard Joel Embiid in the post, and then next possession you have to guard Jalen Brunson in the mid-range. Imagine that. Imagine that. That's going to be so tough to guard. And both those guys can shoot the three well as well. So that would be a scary combination, just being honest. But overall, even if you don't add Joel Embiid this offseason, because I don't think that's going to happen this offseason. I think if you get like a Joel Embiid, it's going to have to be next offseason. I think we're a little too close to training camp for something like that to materialize at this point. But with that being said, I think Jalen Brunson can end up being an all NBA level player next season. I really do. And I know it's tough for small guards to kind of take that leader, not necessarily leadership role, because like, it doesn't really matter what the size is. If you have the mentality, you can be a great leader, right? But you usually don't see small guards, I guess, carry a team. You usually don't see that. Jalen Brunson's kind of that guy, though, that like he doesn't let his small stature kind of affect him and how he wants to approach the game. You know what I mean? Most small guards, like I mentioned earlier, they don't really step foot in the paint, or if they do step foot in the paint, they're not as efficient in there. They usually settle more for 3-pointers or mid-range shots, more outside shots, right? Jalen Brunson is, like I mentioned, an all-around scorer. He's good at 3-point, good in the mid-range, good in the float game. He's very good at pretty much everything scoring wise. There's really no part of his game scoring wise that he's bad at or that he's less effective at. He's pretty much good at everything. Like, he has hot zones all over the court. That's what I like to say about him. You literally can't stop him in any spot of the court. So with that being said, I really think he can evolve into an all NBA level talent. I really do. Do I think he's going to be like all NBA level first team? No, probably not. But I can see like, a third team or even a second team selection if he really ups his game and can get his scoring average up to like close to 26 points a game, if he really can evolve into that. Because I think he has the capability to up that scoring tally even more. 24 points a game is a lot, but I think he can do even more than that. And I'm sure Brunson would agree with that, because if we remember throughout the season, anytime we heard Brunson quotes, he's always criticizing himself. He's always saying, oh, I could have done this better. The man could have dropped a 40-point triple-double, but he said, oh, I thought I could have done better. I thought I could have done XYZ better. He's his biggest critic. And, sometimes fans might view that as him being hard on himself, but really I view it as he just wants to get better each and every single day, no matter what. He wants to be the best version of himself until he knows that he's reached his peak. And I think he knows he hasn't reached that peak yet. I think he knows that he can evolve his game better. And I fully think that as well. I think we haven't seen the best of Jalen Brunson yet. I don't know when we'll exactly see Jalen Brunson peak, but I don't think we've seen it peak just yet. I think we're only going to see him get better. I think his playoff series, just not even just against Miami, but against Cleveland as well. I think that entire, I appreciate that kind of stuff. It's really fun to watch. I'm really glad we have him for the next few years. It's just, I'm really excited, honestly. And with that being said, I want to just pass it off to you, kind of let you get some extra thoughts out there on what you think Brunson can do in 24, because I think he can reach all NBA level. So I want to hear if you think he can also get.
Yeah, no, I think Jalen Brunson is more than capable of being an all NBA player. I think the only thing that stops him is, well, the competition at the point guard position. It's a very deep position, and kind of evaluating the talent there. It's very good, but end of the day, the thing that Jalen Brunson, I think what he does that separates him from a lot of good players the Knicks have had, not just in the last 20 years, but let's say the last 30, 35 years, because the Knicks have had some pretty good players, and there are some really good players across the league. And I'm going to use James Harden as an example here. There are a lot of players who are good, right? And James Harden wasn't just good; he was an MVP candidate. But there are not a lot of players whose their game gets better in the postseason or stays remotely close to where they were in the regular season. And those type of guys, it's hard to build around. Jalen Brunson's not one of those guys. Jalen Brunson doesn't feel like a Nikola Jokic, right? Or like a Joel Embiid, or like I'm not gonna use Joel Embiid because he doesn't have a title, but like a Kevin Durant, a Kawhi Leonard, a LeBron James, right? When these guys are at their best, they get it done in the postseason. They have track records of winning titles, right? It doesn't. I know that Jalen Brunson hasn't gotten to that point yet, but I kind of view him the way I view like a Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray is like not a better player than James Harden is in terms of like career accolades. I don't think there was ever really a point in the NBA except for maybe last playoffs where he was a better player than Harden. But that matters, right? Like, hey, he was better he elevated his game in the postseason, and paired with a guy like Nikola Jokic, they won not only just won a title, they dominated, right? I'm not saying you have to have the best player in the NBA to work with Jalen Brunson, but if you have that top 5, top 10 caliber guy, that guy who they do get the job done, and you pair it with the Jalen Brunson as a number 2, I think that's just as effective as having, almost any duo in the NBA. And I think that's really the big thing for me. Can you get the guy next to Jalen Brunson that allows this team to go out and contend for a title? Because, again, it's very rare that you stumble across a guy who gets better in the postseason. This dude averaged, 30 points a game in the playoffs? I mean, I don't think enough people give him credit for that. Dylan, this guy was unbelievable in the postseason. This guy single-handedly almost got this team to an Eastern Conference Finals. He was this close. 2 games, 2 wins away, 27.8 points in the postseason. He shot 47% from the field, 91% from the free throw line. His true shooting percentage, I believe, was better than league average. It was 58.9%, right around where it was in the regular season. So you increase the volume, you keep the efficiency. That's what Jalen Brunson does for you, right? Now just give him that second guy. That's really what you're looking for. And I even if they don't get that, I think that just more synergy. We saw what this team was with Josh Hart. This team was unbelievable when Josh Hart got here. Can that continue to sustain itself into next year? I think this season is going to answer a lot of questions for the New York Knicks going forward, and I'm very excited for it. But Dylan, I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add on before we wrap things up. I'm going to pass it off to you, kind of see if you have anything you want to add.
Yeah, no, pretty much just, I'm really excited to see what Brunson's going to do in not only just 2024, but the next few years of his contract. I think, we're in for some really good basketball from him. I think eventually we're going to possibly see even him be able to lead this team to an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. I don't think they're that far off from that. I think they have the potential to even reach the Eastern Conference Finals this upcoming season. I think Jalen Brunson's in line for a very strong season, that season All-Star appearance, an All-NBA selection, possibly an Eastern Conference Finals appearance, as I just alluded to. I really think we're in line to see that. And I don't want fans to think I'm overrating Brunson. I know Brunson is not like the perfect point guard for anybody, but I think he is that good. I think his game is underappreciated. I think he's easily at this point possibly the most underrated player in the entire NBA. I feel like not enough people outside of Knicks fans talk about Jalen Brunson and just how good he actually is. I think some fans just view it as, small guard who's a good scorer but can't lead a team anywhere. No, I think Jalen Brunson is kind of showing like I can lead this team too. where it needs to go, to new heights, to heights that, quite frankly, the franchise has not seen in decades. So with that being said, I'm just really excited to see what will happen in the future. Jalen Brunson quickly became like my favorite player on the Knicks just in one season. I'm still a big Julius Randle fan. I know a lot of Knicks fans don't like Julius Randle. I'm still a big Julius Randle fan, but Jalen Brunson quickly became one of my favorite players, not just as a Knicks fan, but in the NBA overall. Like, I just really enjoy watching him play basketball. Can't wait to watch him continue to play next season. I'm excited to see what he does in the FIBA Cup as well. FIBA World Cup officially starts in, I think, like 10 days from now. So really excited to see what he does there as well. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say to kind of wrap this up. So any more final thoughts you got? Let them out, man.
And no, I mean, end of the day, I think that we're looking at a player that, their star is still ascending. Their star is still growing. That star is still rising. The story is not over for Jalen Brunson. The progression is not over. And, last year was a great year for him. But he has an opportunity to continue to build on that legacy and do something special in New York. And I think if you ask Jalen Brunson, he's not going to sit there and tell you, yeah, I had a really good year in New York. I'm really happy with it. And, I hope that, that I go into next year and, whatever happens, happens. No, I imagine the first thing he'll tell you is, I'm going to get better. Like, I want to get better. I want to accomplish X, Y, and Z. This team won a playoff series. Now it's the next step. Right now we got to look, into higher heights. We've got to expect a little bit more from the team. That means naturally expecting a little bit more of Jalen Brunson. And that's not saying that if he repeats his last season that it's a failure. I think that's a success of a season. But overall, you just want to see some steps forward as a team. And I think part of that is having some synergy, having one of his guys there in Josh Hart, having another one of his guys there in Dante DiVincenzo. I know a lot of people complain, but they're just bringing in guys that, Jalen Brunson likes. Well, I mean, these are good players, so it's not like we're bringing in bad ones. But with that being said, we'd love to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Tell us what you guys think Jalen Brunson can accomplish next year. Just to give you guys the bar, he scored 24 points a game this year on roughly, 40, what is it? 49% from the field. So do you think it goes up? Do you think it gets lower from that? Give us your stat predictions in the comment section below. And we'd love to see you guys on our Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page. You guys can check out Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The audio versions of our podcast are on those platforms. And of course, you guys can check out our Twitter accounts. They're above our heads. Yes, I'm still calling it Twitter. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.